From the author of Spinsterella, A Strange and Unusual Romance, comes Spellbound, a darker shade of black. Get Spellbound this Halloween in paperback and ebook at online booksellers everywhere. Last week, DC Comics announced that Wonder Woman, the world's first female superhero and an icon for people all over the world for 75 years, is bisexual. And DC Comics believes that by announcing that Wonder Woman is bisexual, that they are going to make a statement where they show the world they are serious about diversifying their ranks of superheroes to include people of all races, ages, genders, and sexual orientations. However, when we look at this announcement of Wonder Woman being bisexual and take a look at it from a panoramic business perspective, we see that there is nothing wrong with Wonder Woman's sexual orientation, but there is something seriously wrong with DC Comics' business model. Now, Geoff Johns, when he was made the new president of DC Entertainment, told us that we were going to see change related to the DC Comics brand with his new Rebirth event. Now, when we told about this Rebirth event a couple of months ago, it was announced that there was going to be a major shift in business and business approaches at DC Comics. However, the announcement of Wonder Woman as bisexual pretty much shows us that nothing has changed regarding DC Comics and the DC Comics brand. Instead of trying to create a platform to promote the Wonder Woman character in a way that makes her relatable to readers of this generation, Johns is still taking the same business playbook from Dan Dido and Jim Lee, which pretty much led to the decline of DC Comics over the last 10 years and even the last 15 years under their mismanaged supervision. So we look at this approach and this announcement, and it stinks of the same failed marketing approaches of the 1990s. The same failed marketing approaches that DC Comics has used over the last 10 or 15 years, and it's pretty much led to the decline of DC Comics. No one really has an issue with Wonder Woman's sexual orientation, but we have an issue with the execution, because what happens is with this whole marketing stunt is that it was not designed to bring in new readers. It was designed to generate controversy. And one of the things the comic book industry doesn't need right now, and what DC Comics doesn't need right now, is to generate a whole host of controversy. Because the comic book industry, for the last 25 years, has been trying to do that, and it has not generated sales. And when we look at this whole announcement of Wonder Woman being announced as a bisexual, yes, it generates a lot of controversy on places like message boards and Facebook groups, and gets people debating back and forth, but it does not lead to people going into places to go out and buy Wonder Woman comics. And you would think any good marketing campaign, which any seasoned publisher would tell you, is about generating sales. And yes, these type of stunts do get a lot of attention, and they generate short-term sales among comic fans, but they do not generate long-term sales among casual readers. Again, Geoff Johns is still following the Dan Dido approach, and is still trying to sell issues to people instead of trying to sell series to people. And when I look at this whole stunt by writer Greg Rucka, it is not constructive to the Wonder Woman brand. When it comes down to the Wonder Woman brand, the Wonder Woman character suffers from being pretty much culturally irrelevant and culturally obsolete. When it comes down to Wonder Woman, yes, people know who she is, but in many cases they don't understand what her mission is, they don't understand what her goals are, and they don't understand what direction the character is going in. The character has been around for 75 years as a symbol of what it means to be a strong woman. However, in this day and age, we have so many strong women that Wonder Woman these days is just another pretty face. I mean, if we examine the heroines over the last 20 years, or even the last 30 years, we've gotten women like Buffy Summers, China, Xena Warrior Princess, Elisa Maza from Gargoyles, the She-Hulk, Ms. Marvel, Rogue, and Storm. Many heroines in the comic book world. And then we have other heroines in real life, such as Dr. Mae Jemison, the first black female astronaut. We've got Carly Fiorina, who was the CEO of Hewlett-Packard. We've got Hillary Clinton, who is currently running for president. We have many, many strong women out there, such as wrestlers like Mickie James, Chyna, and we also have other characters out there too. So like Jessica Jones right now, who is headlining her own series. So what DC Comics has not done with their Wonder Woman character is establish what her mission is in the 21st century. And I went in depth on this in a blog I wrote where I hypothetically proposed what I would do if I would write a series of Wonder Woman comics, because as a writer who has written many strong female heroines, I understand that you need something substantive to get readers to care about the heroine and her story and her mission. And I've been very successful at doing that in books that I've written, such as All About Marilyn, the screenplay I wrote, a top-selling novel I've done about sororities called The Thetas, and a series that I'm doing called the Isis series, which is fantasy featuring a heroine who is, I call, the goddess next door. Now, when I design female heroines, I design a mission for them, a direction for them, and a set of goals for them to pursue. When I look at Wonder Woman's platform these days, there is no clear mission. Yes, she's a strong woman and she's an icon and she's a role model, but again, we need a reason to connect with her. We need a reason to care about her. And writers have not been able to do that over the last 40 years. They have not been able to establish that mission that connects readers to her in a meaningful way ever since Gloria Steinem made an article in Ms. Magazine saying that what happened to Wonder Woman, and then DC Comics caved, gave us the old Wonder Woman back after the Diana Prince concept was scrapped. And what a lot of people don't know about that was the Diana Prince Wonder Woman was actually selling strong until Gloria Steinem came out and wrote that article, and then ever since then the character has been lost in its direction and has struggled for the last 40 years trying to find a direction, and many creative teams have had a hard time writing this character and laying a platform for this character. And in the 21st century, she has been, more and more marginalized because writers just can't establish a platform for the character because they really have not had a foundation to work with. And every time they get a foundation for the character, it just falls apart because a lot of people just don't understand how to make the character relevant in the 21st century. I mean, not the 21st century. They could even make her relevant in the latter part of the 20th century. But in the 21st century, they're still struggling to make this character culturally relevant, especially in the face of all these heroines in real life and in the fantasy world who have emerged. Because when you look at all these heroines who have emerged, it pretty much, again, Wonder Woman looks just like another pretty face. And I'll give you an example of that in the most recent Bruce Timm Justice League cartoon. I mean, in that cartoon, Hawkgirl was starting to overshadow Wonder Woman, and because she had a stronger voice, a stronger personality, and she had a stronger story. And this is the big problem with the Wonder Woman character. Yes, she's strong, she's powerful, but there's no voice, there's no personality. There's nothing substantive to connect this to her. When we look at other female characters, they have that strong voice, they have that strong personality, and this is what connects readers to characters. This is what makes readers identify with characters. This is what makes readers relate to characters. And what DC Comics is doing by saying that the character is bisexual really does not add anything substantive that allows the reader to connect with the character. Yes, it makes a statement about so-called diversity, but it does not add anything that makes a reader really care about this character or connect with this character on a personal level. And that's what you need if you want to sell books. You need the reader to identify with the character. You need the readers to connect with the character. You need the readers to care about the character when they're reading the book and they're hearing the character's voice and they are following the adventures. And this is the big problem with the Wonder Woman character. Yet the announcement of her being bisexual really adds nothing substantive to this character and pretty much, again, makes her another pretty face. And the reason why it makes her another pretty face is because I can name several other comic characters who are bisexual in comics right now. Like your Cassie Hack of Hack Slash. She's a bisexual in the comics. Same thing with Tara Fremont from the FemForce. She's been a alleged bisexual for over 30 years. So there's nothing, major about this announcement if you're a hardcore comic fan. You listen to this and you go, this really adds nothing to this character, and pretty much is a way for DC Comics to get some noise started, some controversy started, but it's not going to generate any long-term sales or even worse, it's not going to bring any new readers in, because what DC Comics really needs to do is make an effort to try to reach the next generation of readers. And again, I haven't seen Jeff Johns making any serious efforts towards this. The Rebirth event, yes, it appeals to the old school fans, but the big problem with the comic book business is the median age of your comic book reader is 40 years old. And as the readers get older, the product is getting ready to age out. And we really need those younger readers to come into the DC Comics brand. And this announcement pretty much impedes that process, because if you want to try to appeal to conservative middle America and those middle American readers, you don't want to do shock marketing stunts that get people's attention and start arguments. What you really want to do is create those stories that are going to appeal to a large audience of readers and get their attention by telling good stories about the Wonder Woman character, telling us what's great about her, and making her interesting and giving her a compelling voice that appeals to readers of this century with the issues they have to relate to today, like things like body image, self-esteem, and things like that people have to deal with, like cyberbullying and social media and other assorted issues that pretty much today's readers aren't seeing in your Wonder Woman comics. Your Wonder Woman is supposed to be a strong heroine, but she does not deal with any of the issues today's girls deal with, or even today's boys deal with. It just, when I look at her stories, a lot of them are still stuck in things like they're stuck too much in Paradise Island and not enough on things related to kids, what kids go through today, or the things that their relationships that they have today. And that's the big problem with that character, as I saw it, when I was studying the character and doing research for the character. Because again, I've written several strong heroines in many of my books and in my fantasy series, the ISIS series, and I look at this character and I said, is she supposed to be an icon? But a lot of people just don't know how to handle this icon in a constructive way that pretty much shows why people should care about her and why she is culturally relevant in the 21st century. If anything, all these writers like Greg Rucka are doing is showing us why she's pretty much becoming more and more obscure with each passing year and becoming less culturally relevant. And yes, she's a symbol of what was the strong heroine in the 20th century, but we really need a writer to come out and define what Wonder Woman is in the 21st century. And an announcement that she's bisexual really does not create that statement that defines what this heroine is about in the 21st century. Yes, it's a statement that's really relates to old Greek culture, but you're trying to sell a character in modern day American international culture to a new generation of readers, many of which have never picked up a Wonder Woman comic. And the big problem with Wonder Woman, again, is that she's a weak selling title, and when it comes down to her book, she's been struggling since the 1970s to pretty much build an audience and even maintain an audience, even after multiple reboots. And with each reboot and relaunch, the book has struggled to maintain that audience. And if you want to try to build a book back up to the 200,000 sales level, you're going to need something more contemporary and more relatable to girls of today. And I look at this announcement, and it doesn't really sell to the girls of today and make them interested in this character in a way that makes them say, hey, that's a great character. I mean, I look at the way Berlanti Productions handled Supergirl in the first season, and that's what the direction they should have taken the Wonder Woman character in. Something that, was relatable, something that was friendly. She's supposed to be a girl next door, a friend, and we don't see that friend part with this Wonder Woman character as they have designed it today. She's more of a savage barbarian who's carrying a sword and a shield, when we really need to see that friend part, because if she's supposed to be the female antithesis of Superman, then we need to see her being just as friendly and as kind as Superman was back in the day when Superman was about, because Superman was supposed to be a friend to those who were in need, and that's why I saw the Wonder Woman character. She's supposed to be a female friend in need to all those girls out there who need help and people who need help, and we're not seeing that with a woman who's carrying a sword and a shield and is supposed to be this barbaric character. And then you add on another component, which is the whole announcement of bisexuality, and again, that makes the character not relatable to children. It makes her more adult-oriented, and that's not really going to sell comics to younger readers. And again, the DC Comics brand desperately needs to bring this comic and make it appealing to younger readers. You need to get those 8-year-olds, those 9-year-olds, and those 10-year-olds the same 8, 9, and 10-year-olds who are going out to see movies like your Captain America Civil War, your Iron Mans, your Avengers. That's the type of readers you want to get for this character, because again, when you have the younger readers, what happens is those readers start to grow up with the character, and then they start to pass the character on to the next generation. And the big problem with superheroes since the 90s is that we haven't passed those characters on to that next generation. And I look at DC Comics and their recent films like Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad, and again, the kids are being lost, and the biggest part of the business is the kids. And I look at this whole announcement, and it again shows me that nothing has changed regarding the DC Comics brand. And it shows me that even though Jeff Johns is the new president of DC Entertainment, and he said that he was going to change things, things are still following the same failed approaches from the Dan Dido era, and that nothing has really changed since then. And this rebirth, as it's starting to come out, is going to lose momentum from this type of announcement, because when you announce change and then you go back to the same failed approaches, you're pretty much telling the customer that you're not listening, you're not taking them seriously, and you really don't have a long-term plan. Again, you still have comic publishers like DC Comics, you still have DC Comics, still trying to run a sprint towards short-term sales instead of trying to run the marathon. And yes, the DC Rebirth event is 2 years, but it's still not being run like a marathon. You still have them sprinting, making shock marketing stunts like Wonder Woman is bisexual, going for short-term sales instead of trying to build a long-term audience with casual readers that will allow them to grow the brand, allow readers to find the characters and see what's great about them, and then pass those characters on to the next generation so that they can see what's great about them. And that's the big problem with this whole announcement. It does not allow DC Comics to reach those new readers. It's just shock marketing that, again, gets you a short-term boost in sales and a lot of people arguing on message boards, but does not create a long-term sales plan which sells series and does not get people to see what is great about this character, or to care about this character, or to create a run of comics that people will go out and buy in original format and reprint year after year. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.